Do you find it normal that nowadays maybe people, they don't start living on their own? Maybe I'm talking not with roommates, like really on their own, up until like they're 30 or whatever. Or do you think people should feel ashamed of being in this situation? Because I have talked about this with other people, Spanish people and from other countries, and I find it that Spanish people, they have a different view of than maybe Americans or Canadians or people from the more Western world.
I don't think you should be ashamed, but because the world is just so expensive to live these days, and if you have student debt, like it makes sense to save on rent living with your parents. But to me, I find it, especially in searching for a partner, if you're still 30 years old living with your parents, like that's not attractive to me at all. Like, and it's like, do you do your own laundry? Do you cook? Or is that your mom still doing that for you? Like, have you grown up yet? Yeah. I think it's super important for people to be on their own to grow up and figure out how to take care of yourself. And so, like, that's to me, but I also think our world is so expensive. It's really hard for us to live on our own. I wanted to live alone in Malaga, but I realized I would be spending all of my paycheck just on rent. And so I said, it's not worth it yet. So
100%. I actually had this dilemma in Barcelona because I did work in Barcelona for a couple of years before coming back here to Malaga. And before, I was in the same company, but I was making less money. So I had to make a decision because I was for a few months, I was sharing an apartment with a bunch of roommates, no? Paying very little rent, but I had social. I could have more social life, but then I had to decide because I was really fed up, and then I decided to rent an apartment on my own. But I spent quite a few months living on my own. But I was literally spending, like, if you count, the essentials and everything, not only rent but all the essentials. Maybe I was spending 80% of my salary. Right,
all of your money goes to
pretty much
just living.
And maybe then my social money, my social expenses, they came from I went from being able to use maybe 40 or 50% of my social expenses money to 10%. So that, but because I was at that time I wasn't really specialized in my job, so I couldn't make that much money. Now I'm doing better, so that's why I decided to move to Malaga, because rent is cheaper, so it's easier for me to rent, and also I can make better use of my money than for social life and everything. Entonces, no pensáis que debería la gente sentir vergüenza, ¿no? Por el tema de, ¿no?
Pues soy un poco como ella, en que salí de la casa y del país a la vez con 18 años. Fue a Nueva Zelanda para viví en la universidad por el primer año, pero después con compañeros de piso, compañeros también, un novio, pero no tengo vergüenza de vivir con compañeros todavía, con 27.
Claro.
Tal vez sí, con 30 y algo sentiría diferente.
Lo que yo he notado, Diana, es que en España se tiende es mucho más normal vivir con compañeros de piso y con tus padres.
Aquí con
hasta años, hasta una edad bastante avanzada, hasta 30, incluso más de 30. Pero las americanas, they say that that's completely out of the game. That a guy is a complete turn off, ¿no? No es un turn off.
I don't know if they're probably going to see it, but I've dated 2 Spanish guys.
Tú sí has dated,
in the past.
Claro.
And they both lived with their parents, and it was very hard to develop a relationship.
Claro. Y how did you break out of that? Like because you obviously felt attracted to them. So how do you went over that?
I sort of tried to have conversations with them, like, hey, do you think it might be cool one of them, the first one was 24, so he was still sort of young, and I was 22. Yeah. So, I actually lived with them for 1 month right before I left, and then we ended up breaking up, but, it was kind of nice, having a kind of family around, so I kind of got that. The other one was 27, and I feel like he's probably going to see this. But yeah, he did move out for a little while, and then he moved back because he didn't like the place that he had moved to. But now he's out of the house. But it was just, a very small apartment, and sort of, sometimes was difficult. But I guess we sort of went out of the house. That he could come to my house. We could go on dates or whatever. So.
Claro.
Kind of made it work, I guess, but it is sort of something I do mention to people if I'm dating them. And I have dated people in New Zealand that have lived at home, but they're a bit younger.